after the news broke yesterday lunchtime, this was Conor Benn defending himself.
I've not committed any violations. I've not been suspended. So as far as I'm concerned, the fight is still going ahead. I've spoken to Chris personally, and we both want the fight to go ahead. We've both taken medical and legal advice, and as I said, we want the fight to happen for the fans. You know, I've signed up to every voluntary anti-doping testing there is under the sun. Throughout my whole career, I'm tested. You know, all my UK tests have come back negative throughout my whole career. I've never had any issues before. Even in the lead up to this fight, my tests have come up negative. You know, so my team will find out as to why there's been an initial adverse finding in my test. But as I said, as far as I'm concerned, the fight is still going ahead. I'm a clean athlete, and we'll get to the bottom of this. I just want to thank everyone for their continued support, and I'll see you all on Saturday.
So that was Conor Benn. I mean, it must be stressed. It's neither here nor there. Having said that, Simon, you and I like Conor Benn. He's a good lad. He came in here not that long ago. He was delightful company. I'm sure you two, Spencer and Adam, are the same. The bottom line is, not long after he said that, did I not see Eubank saying, he hasn't spoken to me? No, I don't know about it.
You did. He's done that publicly as well. Eubank said that, they hadn't had that conversation. He hadn't had that phone call. And I'm with you guys. You know, Conor Benn, I love Conor. I've known him for a long time and followed his career throughout. And I find it really hard to believe, actually, that Conor would take any sort of performance-enhancing drugs. But the facts are the facts. They're there. And, Eubank said they didn't have that conversation. So I'm not sure who's telling the truth on that one.
Say they managed to work the oracle, and the promoter of Eubank Jr, Sauerland, and the promoter of Benn, Eddie Hearn, managed to pull it off. And it is sanctioned by another body. Will Benn Eubank Jr. as a fight, if it goes ahead, always be seen as a tainted fight?
Absolutely. I mean, the fight, if it is sanctioned, which looks likely by the Luxembourg Boxing Board, the same boxing board that done Derek Chisora versus David Hay back in the day.
Different situation. Neither of those
different situation. Yeah, but they weren't licensed. But that Luxembourg, I think that was where, you know, the Luxembourg first come to light.
We're not in the European Union anymore.
Yeah.
All these things are different.
Anyway, that's where it could possibly go. That's where I'm hearing it could possibly go. And if it does, of course it's tainted because of, you know, what's going on around it. And look, will people still watch it? Of course they will. But, you know, what happens, you know, if something happens in a fight, you know, this is the hurt business where people do get hurt. And we've got what's going on in this fight. I just don't think that it's right that it goes ahead right now.
Loses all its integrity. Even if someone, and hopefully nobody, if the fight goes ahead, which I don't think it will, Spencer, but even if it did, and let's say Conor wins, Chris Eubank is forever going to be able to push back on that and say it was a flawed fight. I might have took it because it was a big bag of money and I made a financial decision, but I didn't make a fighting decision. And with all that in mind, it's an exercise in money now. And the bottom line is, Callie can come on in, and as I said to him this afternoon when he came on this morning, if this was a 100-grand fight, it wouldn't be happening. It's happening because it's a £7.5 million fight for the two fighters, and that's the end of the discussion. And the viewing public should know that. And the people that are behind this fight, the Wassermans of the world and the Zones of the world, need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, reputationally, how good is this for us?
Adam, take the money thing out of it. Mind you, it's well nigh impossible to do that when it comes to boxing. But let's do that for a moment. What's the motivation for Eubank Jr. to say, I'll fight him?
None.
No, there's none.
None.
It's purely money.
He's here for £3 million. That's what he's here for.
That's it. End of.
If he doesn't fight, he doesn't get paid. That's the only reason. Yeah. This is the thing. I heard yesterday.
I think he's been vocal about that.
I heard yesterday where and I'm sure you've had this as well when you spoke to Callum, where they said, we've spoken to the fighters and the fighters have said that they're up for it. Of course they're up for it. There's £3 million on the table.
Absolutely.
The fighters should not be even given the choice as to whether this fight goes ahead. This should be taken out of their hands. The British Boxing Board of Control made their decision. This fight is prohibited. End of chat. That's it. I
asked Callie, what medical and legal advice have you been given? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you said you were given medical and legal advice. He said, well, I've been given medical legal. I said, no, you've been given financial advice. What about medical and legal advice? What has that extended to?
Sure.
Well, I can't disclose that because it probably hasn't really happened. The bottom line is they might have had described what the drug or doesn't do, but the real advice they've been given is we're going to lose £3 million.
But on that, exactly what you're saying there, I saw plenty of interviews yesterday, and I'm looking forward to going to the press conference today to put this to the people that have said these particular things, where they're talking about being comfortable with the levels of the performance-enhancing drugs that are in people's system. I'll tell you what level I'm comfortable with. Zero. End of.
Exactly.
Zero tolerance whatsoever. Getting comfortable. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, he's tested positive, but how much is in there?
Yeah.
Oh, right. There's only a picogram. I couldn't care less if it's a picogram or a litre. It's in his system. The fight is off. End of.
What this shows actually is what this sport means to the two of you. To you, Spencer, as an ex-fighter, to you, Adam, as one of the top commentators. The integrity of the sport is everything to you.
Absolutely. You know, we just want a clean sport where you get fair fights, and when stuff like this comes into it, it makes it very difficult for us because we're so passionate about the sport, you know, and it's put a real grey area over the sport of boxing with this going on, and you know, and this fight still may possibly go ahead. It's not really good for the sport.
From my point of view, there's enough nonsense in this sport. There's enough politics in this sport. There's enough things for me to get angry about. For us to actually pour more fuel on the fire like this, self-inflicted, it's just so infuriating. So infuriating. The situation, this could. We should. Oh, mate, you can hear it in my voice of how mad I'm getting with it. Because what should be happening is everybody pump the brakes. There is a potential violation here. Let's deal with the violation. And once that's sorted, once we've got to the bottom of it and punishments and bans and all that type of thing are sorted, then we can maybe revisit it. We shouldn't just be selling ourselves. I mean, there's a good age-old saying, there is no price for a peace of mind, is there? And we are selling ourselves. That's what we're doing. We are selling our souls to the devil this weekend.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.